Good morning, Year 5. Hope everybody is all right on this Wednesday morning. I'm here now to talk you through some of your maths for today. Now, we're looking at geometry this week. We're having a little bit of a change, looking at different types of lines and shapes. So I'm going to, first of all, change onto my shared screen to show you what we're going to do and have a look at today. So here we go. Now, I'm just going to get my PowerPoint. I'm up in the little screen up here. Okay, so I'm going to actually leave it on here because I want to be able to edit my slideshow, and I'm just going to move myself up a little bit here. All right, so we're going to be looking at geometry today, tomorrow, and on Friday, and there's some new vocabulary, first of all, that I just wanted to go through with you. The main words that we're going to be looking at for this week are the top half. So we're looking at the words parallel, which we've got just here. We've got the words perpendicular, angle, and right angle. They're our main keywords that we're going to be looking at for this week. So I have actually, hopefully a lot of you now have got your Power Maths books. If not, I've sent to your email addresses the sheets, which are basically the same as your Power Maths books. I've copied them in there and emailed them forward, so you can still access the work whether you have your book or not. So first of all, we're going to start off with our discover. So here is our picture, and oops, I'm over the title. Let me just move myself out of the way. And our title is Recognising and Drawing Parallel Lines. Now, parallel, what does this word parallel mean? Can anybody remember? Have a little think for a minute. Have a look at the picture. You've got an old rickety house with a big iron gate. And what we want to know first of all is which lines on the gate are parallel. Can you remember what it means if two lines are parallel to each other? Have a little think. I'll give you a minute to have a little think about it. See if you've got a piece of paper and can you draw some parallel lines and think, how would you explain it to your partner if they were sitting next to you? So I can tell you that there's quite a few parallel lines on this gate. Now, parallel lines, I always tell people to think of as being like train tracks, because they never ever meet. So if lines are parallel to each other, it's like they're moving in the same direction. So if you imagine on a train track, if those train tracks crossed over, the train wouldn't do very well at driving down there and it would crash. So in order for lines to be parallel, a train should be able to go down them really, really carefully, and they have to carry on and on and on, and they never will cross. So if we have a little look at this picture, I'm just going to put my highlighter pen on here. You can see if we look at the vertical lines, the lines going up and down, we've got this line here. Can you sort of see my yellow pen? That would be parallel to this one, because they would never ever meet. And in fact, we could keep going, because look, this part of the gate is parallel to it, as is this part of the gate, and this part of the gate, this part. They're all going in the same direction, and they are all parallel to one another, because they're never ever going to meet. What about the horizontal lines? Let's see if we can change colour. That's not particularly clear. Let's try blue. So you can see here a horizontal line. Oh, it's a bit difficult for Mrs. Lodge to go straight. And then underneath it, it's parallel to this part of the gate underneath, because they never ever meet. So that's a parallel line. So if I have a look at my next slide, it's going to show you what it looks like. Now, all the horizontal and all the vertical lines that we've just seen were parallel. And as you can see on the diagram over here, where it's just got the gate, you can see that it's been marked with arrows. Now you can see that the vertical lines have just got one arrow, and the horizontal lines have got two arrows going on them. And why do you think they've done that? Why have they got different numbers of arrows on each of those lines, do you think? Well, I can tell you that they're there to show that they're different sets of parallel lines. So the vertical parallel lines, they're one set. So there's only one arrow because they're all going in that direction. Now the horizontal parallel lines are going the other way, and they're a different set. So to show that they're a different set, we've put two arrows on there. And that's how you show parallel lines, that you put a little arrow, show where they are, which one they're parallel to, and the number of arrows that you draw will show the reader which ones are parallel with each other. Now, if you look down here, it says the diagonal lines on the gate are not parallel. Can you see where the red markings are on here? Now they're not parallel. Let's think, if we've got a parallel line, they can never meet and therefore never cross. So these lines here are crossing over. So if our train was going along those train tracks, it would definitely get in a bit of a twist. So those lines there are not parallel, so they haven't got any little arrows marked on them. Okay, so have a little look at these. Which sides should have arrow markings on to show that they are parallel in these different shapes that we've got here? Now at the bottom you can see there's a little thought bubble saying, I wonder if parallel lines must be exactly the same length. And the answer to that is no, they don't have to be. As long as they are going in the same direction as each other and they're never ever going to cross, those lines can be parallel. So on shape A, all of our lines are the same length as they are in shape B. But you can see on shape C that the vertical lines are actually different in length. What do you think? Are they parallel? You tell me, have a go. Just pause me for a little minute and have a try, jot out these shapes and see if you can add on the arrows to show which lines are horizontal. And then when you've done that, start the video again and I'm going to show you what I would do. Okay, so hopefully you've had a try now and you've unpaused me. So I'm going to get now one of my pens. Now I'm not brilliant at this, but we'll give it a try and let's see. So on my square, I can see that I have got this line here is parallel to this line here. So I'm going to give those just one set of arrows. Now, the lines going in the other direction are parallel to each other, aren't they? So this line I'm going to give, so I want to show that it's different to the other set. So I'm going to do 2 arrows on this one and it's parallel to this line. So I'm going to put 2 arrows here. So that's how I would represent it on there. Obviously with your lovely handwriting, it's going to be a bit neater than mine. Now, are there any parallel lines on shape B? No, there aren't, are there? Because none of those lines go in a straight line and they all cross over in a triangle. They will all cross over or sometimes never ever meet. So B, definitely I won't mark anything off there. Now C, this is where it's interesting to think about what the little boy at the bottom has said. I wonder if they must be the same length. Now these lines here, they look like if I was to carry on drawing those lines, oh, it's a bit wiggly because I haven't got a ruler. Look what happens. Uh-oh, they cross over. So that means those lines there, they can't be parallel lines. So I'm going to get rid of those so we don't get confused. But sometimes it's a good way of drawing them on. So I'm going to use, let's use different colour, use blue this time. But these lines here, this one, the vertical lines, they keep going. So actually, they are parallel to each other. So I could, on this shape, I would just have one set of arrows to show that they are parallel lines. Now in D, you can see our lines are at a slight angle still, but if we were to carry on drawing these, oops, oh gosh, that's gone on a bit long, they wouldn't ever cross, would they? And even though Mrs. Lodgers are not particularly straight, they would keep on going on and on and on and never ever meet. So therefore, those vertical lines there, let's get the pen back, we've got definitely a set of parallel lines on this side. And what about going in the other direction? Yes, we have. These are parallel too. So on those shapes, like A, I would have 2 sets of arrows. They're not very neat, but you get the idea of how you can show it and represent it on your shapes. Okay, so let's have a little look at the next slide, if I can find my mouse now. All right, now, this here can be a little bit more confusing. It says line BC is parallel to line E and F. So what I'm going to use this time is I'm going to use my highlighter pen. And so I know which line BC is, I'm going to highlight it. So BC is basically the line which is joining, is between B and C. And the line between F and E are parallel. Can you see that's a bit more obvious now, isn't it? You can see that actually, even though they're not completely above or next to one another, they are parallel to each other, because if we were to get a pencil or our pen, let's see if I can have a go at drawing this in a little bit more of a straight way. This line here would keep going on and on and on. And this line here would keep going on and on and on. And they would never meet, they'd never cross. Therefore, they are parallel lines. Now, the question then says, which other lines are parallel and how do you know? So I'm just going to get rid of these so we can concentrate and see what we're doing. That is not working, my razor. There we go. Okay, so which other lines are parallel? How do you know? So we've got line A and F. Is that one parallel? Let's look. Are there any other lines going in that same direction? No, there aren't. So there's nothing between A and F. What about C and D? No, it's not quite parallel to that, is it? Because this one, if we were to carry on, I think that if we continued line A and B here, that kept going up and up and up, and we continued line C and D up and up and up, oh dear, they would cross, therefore they can't be parallel lines. So they're not a set either. Let's get rid of those. Now, what about E and D? So E and D are going this way. Oh, A and B, they're going in a very similar direction. And actually, I think if we were to carry on their lines, oopsie, oh dear, that went a bit wonky, didn't it? Like this and like this, they would keep going like train tracks. Therefore, A and B and E and D, we could use that, show it with our highlighter pen. So this line here and this line here are parallel. So we can look at those with our letters to say that they are also parallel lines. Okay, so your work for today is in your Power Maths books. So all the instructions for the pages that you need to be on are on the email. So make sure you have a check of which pages you need to go on. And this is the chapter name. It's called Recognising and Drawing Parallel Lines. So have a go at getting all the way through and make sure you have a try at the end of the reflect. The challenge, I know, sometimes can be quite tricky, but if you get everything else done, have a go, see how you get on. Remember to send me an email if you get stuck or you have any other questions with that. All right, so that's Wednesday. Good luck, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye.